G'day guys, welcome to my RxWise video. Today I'm going to be talking to you guys about NRL Round 13 recap preview for 2020 guys. Let's get started. So starting off with this first game of this match, we see the Dragons going up against the Roosters. Now, this game, it was a real tight game. I was expecting a real close win by the Dragons, but then the Roosters held on with a really good win, 24 points to 16. Absolute good cracking game of football it was. I really think that this game was an absolute good cracking game of football. Like, it was really tight, absolutely quality game there. But the Dragons really didn't have that mark and that absolute continuity for that match, because the Dragons were struggling a little bit in the first half, and then second half they were doing alright, but they just didn't really execute very well. But for the Roosters though, I cannot believe that this game for them really executed really well for that team. So let's have a look at the Dragons' tries here. So what we have here is Zach Lomax scored 2 tries and Matt Duffy. So the Roosters' tries here, what we have here is Joseph Manu scored 2 tries, Mitchell Orbison, Sitili Tupanua and Luke Keary. My player of the game for this match, number 4 for the Sydney Roosters, is Joseph Manu. He is an absolute great player that stands out for the game. I really do hope he has a wonderful career for the Roosters. But for the Roosters, I just think that they are a really standout team. And for next week, for this week's match against the Storm, like Roosters and Storm, I really do think that the Roosters will hold on for a win, but we're not talking about that one. We're talking about Dragons here against Roosters. So I really do hope that the Roosters have a real great career for any type of games, but they are a really good football team that just doesn't make any losses, but then executes very well with absolute great wins of football anyway. The next game of this match, we see the Manly Seagulls going up against the Warriors. Now, this game was really close, but real tight in this game. But it was wet, slippery, and very, very terrible game of football. Because the Manly Seagulls didn't really do well in the first half in that match. But for the Warriors, the first half in that game, absolutely standout match for this game of football. Absolutely standout game. But the Warriors didn't really execute very well in the first half. But in the second half, they really came out on top, absolutely firing in that match. But for the Manly Seagulls though, they really came out on top, scoring a lot of tries to really stand out and stand up in that game. But they played a lot better last week. I think they played the Panthers last week, so they were playing sloppy. But then they really played a lot better against the Warriors though, but they didn't really get enough points to obviously win that game of football. But it obviously was 26 points to 22 in that match for the Warriors to win that game. And obviously it was by 4 points that obviously won that game. But let's have a look at the Manly tries anyway. So what we have here is Tafita Vuna, Moses Sully, Hamole Olakalatu, and George Tafua. Let's have a look at the Warriors tries. So what we have here is Patrick Herbert that scored 2 tries. Well done from him. Elisa Katoa, George Jennings, and Peter Hiku. And my player of the game, number 7, or I think number 6 or number 7, for the Warriors was Cody Nikorima. He absolutely had a blinder in that match, and I just think that Nikorima had a really good game of football that just didn't really had a lot of sloppy games out there, but the Warriors really held on with the win anyway. The next game of this match, we see the Rabbitohs going up against the Broncos. Now, this game, I cannot believe that the Broncos didn't really execute really well. They were playing shocking, and I may say it, but for you guys, Broncos fans, you need to fight for your team. It's not going to be great if you see them playing football, but then they keep losing and losing. It's not good for your side, and it's just going to be really terrible for your club. But for the Rabbitohs, though, absolutely great team that really executed very well. They are a real good finisher, but sometimes, though, they do have a little bit of... they do struggle a little bit, but they just don't execute very well in that match. But the Broncos didn't really execute very well, but they just don't have that favoritism in that match, which I say that they are a really good football team, but they aren't at the moment, which they keep losing. I think it's lost like 7 games in a row, I'd say, but they lost 10 games in that match, and then they won 6 games in the match anyway. But let's have a look at the Rabbitohs tries anyway. So what we have here is Dane Gagai, Adam Reynolds, Mark Nichols, and Tom Burgess. Let's have a look at the Broncos tries. So what we have here is Herbie Farnworth and David Fafita. Excuse me. And my player of the game, number 2 or number 4, I believe, was Dane Gagai from the Rabbitohs. Absolutely great player that just really executes very well, and I do think he has a real good potential of a real great career of him playing for the Rabbitohs anyway. But it was 28 points to 10 anyway. The next game of this match, we see the Storm going up against the Bulldogs. Now, this game was real shocking from the Bulldogs. They're sitting 16 on the ladder, which that means they are the wooden spooners now. But I tell you, the Bulldogs aren't really that good now. I'm just gonna have to say, they're just shocking now. Every single time I see them play football, they really are the most shocking team in the NRL competition. Every single time I play, like, they pass it. They don't focus on where the ball was gonna end up, because that was why Josh Adokar got that intercept and he scored the length of the field try. But that was just from Lachlan Lewis that didn't realise that if you pass a long ball, it will be an intercept. But it was just shocking to see the Bulldogs didn't get a win at all up against the Storm. But it was 41 points to 10. 41 points to 10. Absolutely firing up game it was, and they just didn't really have the talent in that game for the Bulldogs. But let's have a look at the Storm tries anyway. So what we have here is Josh Adokar that scored 2 tries, Nico Hines, Justin Olam, Kenneth Bromwich scored 2 tries, and Suliasi Funavalu. Now let's have a look at the Bulldogs tries. So what we have here is Tim Laffey and Remus Smith. Tim Laffey, well done on making a return for the Bulldogs anyway. You're a great player still, but I just think that other players need to step up a little if they want to win games of football. But my player of the game certainly went to number 5 from the Melbourne Storm, Josh Adokar. He's a speedster. Every single time we see him play, he is absolutely a speed freak that can score tries, and he's dangerous across the park anyway. But it was 41 points to 10. And I just think that game was absolutely firing up match and a real good thrashing against the Bulldogs anyway. The next game of this match, we see the Knights going up against the West Tigers. Now, this game was real shitty by the West Tigers. I do think the West Tigers are a really good team, but they're versing the Bulldogs in the next round, which that sucks, because they lost 44 points to 4. Absolutely embarrassing scoreline. And I cannot believe the only try that scored out there was Luciano Leilua. He was impressive but shocking across the park. I'm just going to have to say, you guys need to step it up. You don't want to be like the Bulldogs, and you don't want to be like any other team that just is shocking anyway. But let's have a look at the Knights tries anyway. So what we have here is Kalen Ponga, Heimel Hunt, Stafford Toa, Jacob Saifidi, Herman Asa, and Jonas Shibasaki, and Phoenix Crosland. Well done from Phoenix Crosland anyway. It was just a brilliant player that stand out across the park, and also Kalen Ponga that scored 2 tries for a double. Absolutely a really good player that stands out for the club. So is Heimel Hunt. Stafford Tola is a new player in that club that really is an absolute speed freak. But Jacob Saifidi, I haven't really seen him play that much, but he is a real good player. Jonas Shibasaki, that came from the Broncos, he is a real good player also too. And Herman Asa, he's a real good player also too, that just does execute very well. But for the Knights, 44 points to 4 the scoreline, absolutely embarrassing scoreline to beating the West Tigers that are really a good team, but that was shocking across the park, and they were playing poor. But I just have to say, if you guys need to win against the Bulldogs, I'm going to have to tip you guys, because the Bulldogs are just as bad, but the West Tigers aren't, because they got a little bit of talent, but they don't execute very well. So I'm going to say 44 points to 4, embarrassing scoreline, but well done from the Newcastle Knights for winning this game up against the Tigers anyway. The next game of this match, we see the Panthers going up against Raiders. Now, Panthers are sitting on first on the ladder, 5 or 7 straight wins. Absolutely great team. I cannot believe they just dominate every single time they play. Nathan Cleary is a real good player. Apside Carousel is a real good player. So is Brent Naden, Viliami Kikau, Liam Martin, Stephen Crime was an absolute great player too, but they just lack continuity sometimes. But for the Raiders though, I'm just going to have to say, the Raiders are a real good team, but they do struggle a little bit. But without Josh Hodgson, they just is going to be a real struggle team that just doesn't execute very well. But at least the Raiders do have some talent in their team. Because if they don't have the talent in their team, they're just going to have to be a real good team to just execute very well. And what I mean is, the Raiders are a top team that just doesn't struggle all the time, but then they do struggle sometimes. But it was 28 points to 12 scoreline, average game of football, not averagely thrashing, but 28 points to 12 was an average scoreline anyway. But let's have a look at the Panthers tries anyway. So what we have here is Viliami Kikau, Liam Martin, Stephen Crichton, and Brent Naden. So what we have here for the Raiders tries is the only one try from the fullback from the Raiders was Charnze Nicoll-Klokstad that scored 2 tries. Well done from you. I'm just going to have to say, you are a great player anyway. My player of the game went to number 4 from the Panthers, Stephen Crichton. The next game of this match, we see the Titans going up against the Cowboys. Now, this game, from my bottom of the heart, I wasn't expecting this match from the Titans to win this game. But they did, because the Cowboys really don't have effort all the time. Because Michael Morgan came from injury, but then he doesn't have the talent. Because Cole Felt is a real good player, but they are losing Valentine Holmes and a lot of players that they are injured. But what I have to say, 30 points to 10, real thrashing by this club, the Titans, and they are a really good team. But I'm just going to have to say, still not a top 8 side from the Titans, and I just don't think they will be for this competition. But definitely they are a good club, I have to say. They're not a top 8 side, but they are a really good team. But let's have a look at the Titans tries anyway. So what we have here is Anthony Don, Kevin Proctor, AJ Brimson. They came back from injury, played a really good game too. That scored 2 tries for a double. Absolutely great player. Well done from you. Brian Kelly and Philip Semi. Philip Semi is a really good player that stands out for the club, and I'm just gonna have to say he brings talent to the club every single time he plays for the team. But what we have here for the Cowboys tries is Cole Felt and Justin O'Neill. I haven't really seen Justin O'Neill play a really good match anyway, but well done from you for scoring a try, and also Cole Felt, well done from you for scoring a try anyway. But my player of the game went to Philip Semi, number 5 from the Titans. He is just a really good player, and credit from you that just has a really good talent for the game, and I just think you are suitable to play for the Titans for the season, and I just think you're going to have a wonderful career anyway. And last but certainly not least, we see the Sharks going up against my Parramatta Eels. 14 points to 12. Slippery, wet, horrendous conditions with pouring down rain at Cogra Oval, Netstrata Jubilee Stadium. I'm going to have to say, this game was real shocking and real horrendous. None of these two teams weren't talented enough in that match. But I understand that it was really slippery, wet, even mud puddles in the grass was real funny but shocking. But I'm just going to have to say, well done from the Parramatta Eels that stand out in that match for winning by 2 points in that game. But for the Sharks, I'm just going to have to say, you guys are a really good team, but I wasn't expecting a loss from you guys, because last time I went there and vlogged at Cronulla, we got beaten and thrashed. And I mean thrashed. But I'm just guessing it was a payback. So I'm just going to have to say, the Eels are a real good team. But let's have a look at the Sharks tries anyway. So what we have here is Jesse Ramian and Ronaldo Mulatalo. Ronaldo Mulatalo is a really good player that stands out for the club, and I'm going to have to say, you're a real good player that stands out in that game and in that match. But let's have a look at Eels tries anyway. So what we have here is Dylan Brown and Kane Evans. Dylan Brown is a real good player that stands out for the club, and I'm just going to have to say, you're a real good talent for the Parramatta Eels, and I'm going to have to say you're going to have to real step up, but you are a great player anyway. But my player of the game certainly went to number 6 from the Parramatta Eels. I just think he's standing out for the game, and I just think he's my player of the game. So I'm going to have to say Dylan Brown, number 6 from the Parramatta Eels anyway. Thanks guys for watching my video, guys. Stay tuned for more. I will be doing a couple of videos coming to you guys soon. Also, I'll be doing more videos coming to you guys soon, so stay tuned for more. Plus, leave a like and subscribe to my YouTube channel and for this video, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Till then, take care guys, stay safe, and have a good one. Plus, let's get up to 200 subscribers. We're seeing on 168. 168. That's over halfway, but let's get up to 200 subscribers, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.